Catherine, it's getting pretty bad. Rob Marciano was out here a second ago. The winds were about 69 on his little machine. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but they're definitely picking up. I mean, it is just getting worse and worse here by the minute. We have seen some extraordinarily strong gusts here. These planters are probably about 600 pounds or so. One of them was just sort of whipped up and ripped off. It's down there a little bit. We think this area is a little bit more secure, so we feel pretty confident right here. It's actually blocking some of the wind for us, but it is getting very nasty out here. The rains, though, as you can see, I mean, the rain is really pouring down. The last report we had, which is about half an hour old now, said there wasn't a lot of flooding problems just yet in downtown Mobile, but they are certainly expecting that, especially with that storm surge coming in here. But hour by hour, minute by minute, this storm is just getting worse and worse. We're really not sure how much longer we're going to be able to stay on the air or stay out here, but the wind's just picking up. It is an awesome sight to see. I thought it was bad a couple hours ago, but I was wrong. I mean, this is unbelievable, and it is only just going to get worse. We ain't seen nothing yet, Catherine.
Anderson, I was with you that whole night when you were live on the east coast of Florida when Frances came in, and it was just hours and hours of sustained winds. How would you compare this to Frances?
This is much worse. I mean, that was really the first time I'd sort of been inside a hurricane. This feels much worse. I don't know. From a scientific standpoint, which storm is bigger? I'm told this storm may not be as strong, but it is a very big storm and may cause a lot of problems. But I can tell you, on the ground, it feels a whole lot worse. I mean, these winds, that storm was so slow moving. This is a faster moving storm, a faster moving hurricane, about double the speed, I think, of Frances at last count. And the winds are really just, I mean, they'll knock you off your feet. If you're standing straight up, without you having your feet wide apart, they will pick you up and knock you down. At this point, I can only imagine what it's going to be when these winds top 100 miles an hour, which we are anticipating here, after the midnight hour, as the morning progresses. So it's really an awesome sight. I mean, it is a terrible sight, and it is terrible what is going to, happen to these areas and other areas. And one has to feel for the people who are living through it. But to see Mother Nature at its full force it makes you feel very insignificant, I got to tell you.
We should remind viewers where you are. You're up on a fourth floor deck at a hotel there, and you're kind of surrounded by walls. So some of what you're experiencing wouldn't be accurate to what's going on the ground. First of all, explain that to where you are, and then as you look at that hotel, are you seeing any damage yet? Any windows, anything indicating that there's a lot of damage in the area?
Yeah, haven't seen too much damage yet. I mean, some of the windows have been buckling. We've been thinking about tying down some of the doors in the rooms that we're using. We're on a deck, basically, as you said, on the fourth floor of this hotel. The hotel, still, actually looks like the hotel doesn't really have they've got a little bit of electricity left, it seems, though parts of Mobile don't have electricity. We are told, though, that the ground floor, the lobby of this hotel, is about 12 feet above sea level. They've already sandbagged that. They are anticipating water in that lobby, no doubt about it, because they're expecting some sort of a storm surge. A little bit of a lull here, which is nice. But yeah, we feel relatively good about where we are. The camera, the crew, is about 30 feet from where I am. They are actually sheltered, though they're dripping wet. They're sheltered from some of these higher winds, but these winds are just whipping through. I mean, it's not because we're up 4 stories. These winds are whipping through downtown Mobile, and they're going to be whipping through all night long. The reason we're up on the 4th floor is to get away from the water. The possibility that, oh, there's my hat. Possibility, I don't want to lose the CNN hat. I paid a lot of money for that. The possibility that the water would rise, so we figured we'd get on the 4th floor just so that if there is flooding, we can at least continue to broadcast, continue to show you what it's like out here in the storm.
I don't know, Anderson. You might be losing your priorities if you're worried about your hat at this point.
I think a hat is an important thing right about now, actually. Hang on to the hat, by all means. Hang on to the hat.
Guys, I don't know if you can see. I mean, these winds are just whipping right across. I'm not sure how well it's coming across on TV. I have never seen anything like this.
It's coming across.
Really gusting
we are getting a little sense of it, and I'm sitting there watching that planter, wondering if you're in the right place.
Yeah, you just said one went over the side there a moment ago.
It's hard to imagine a 600-pound planter being lifted by the wind.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine. I'm actually tethered to a rope just for, we want to take all the safety precautions we can. We feel, as I said, I mean, I don't want to sound alarmist. We feel very good about where we're at. And every minute we are checking the security, make sure, safety is the most important thing for us right here. We want to keep everyone safe. When we feel it's too dangerous, we'll go inside and, we'll come back out when it is. But for now, we feel we're all right where we're at.
All right, Anderson, we will check in with you in just a few minutes. Right now, though, we're going to go to David Mattingly, who's standing by in Panama City, where there have already been a couple of fatalities from tornadoes there. And it looks like you're right in the ocean there.
That's right, and it's coming much closer to our cameras by the hour. We're standing out here. We just got hit by this frisbee that was floating into the surf. We're getting a lot of really stiff breezes right now. I'm going to toss this up in the air so you can just get an idea of what we're dealing with standing out here. Oh, there it is. Gone. The winds are continuing to pick up. These are sort of similar to the conditions we saw around the 5 o'clock Eastern Time hour when a band of severe weather came through and dropped several tornadoes on Bay County, killing 2 people here. The damage, we're told, was extensive, and there are widespread power outages in this county right now, and probably will be through the night. Also through the night, here's what we're taking a look at, is what you should be looking at right now is the white sand beaches. Instead, you see a bunch of white sea foam and water. This whole area, this entire beach is flooded right now. Now imagine what a stark contrast this is right now to what you would see, say, in March during spring break. This is the biggest spring break destination in the country. In March, in the spring, this beach is flooded with college students and high school students having a good time, coming here, spending lots and lots of money. But right now, this beach is flooded. Everyone wondering how this white sand beach is going to hold up under the storm surge, the full storm surge that is expected later tonight as Ivan continues to come in. Catherine?
You know, David, there's a problem with erosion all along, the Gulf of Mexico there. And Panama City in the last 10 years has spent millions and millions of dollars building up that beach and making it a lot longer. Has to be a lot of concern about what this kind of storm is going to do to that, especially there where there's not a lot of dunes.
That's right. They know what can happen to this beach because back in 1995 when Opal came through a Category 3, Opal passed to the west of here, so they got the worst of that eastern edge wind in that hurricane. There were businesses. We talked to one bar owner on the beach who said the waves actually came into her business, took the kitchen out of the building and took it out to sea. They never recovered the kitchen after that storm. So everyone very familiar with what can happen to this beach. And it's funny you should mention the dunes. Back in 95 during Hurricane Opal, I'm getting hit by a 4x4 here. Lots of debris in the water right here. During Hurricane Opal, they didn't have dunes like this. They built up these dunes and planted sea oats here just as a way, as another barrier, just in situations like this. So we're going to test these dunes and see how well they work tonight, how well they protect the property, and how well they can hold the beach here, Catherine.
You know, we haven't, it's Miles sitting right beside Catherine, but we haven't talked a lot about that. But the fact is those dune lines are the best protection that Mother Nature can afford to this high surf. And where you find buildings built on the water side of the dune lines, you usually have a big problem with damage in the wake of these storms. And when people put in codes and setbacks that put the buildings behind the dune lines, they tend to weather it pretty well. What's the situation there in Panama Beach? Obviously, you've got dunes there. Up and down the beach, are they protected by those dunes?
Well, you can see how big the dunes are. They're not as big as what you would find in some other areas. From where this dune begins, where the vegetation is, to where the property actually begins, the building here, I'd say about maybe 20 yards. It's not that big. And again, they developed these after 1995, after Hurricane Opal came in here. There were some situations along this stretch here where Hurricane Opal caused such bad beach erosion that there was water from the Gulf of Mexico going between the hotels and all the way to the other side to the road, flooding the road that leads in and out of here. They're not expecting to see anything like that, but again, that's still very fresh in their minds as this hurricane comes ashore tonight.
All right, David, thank you very much. We'll be back with you in just a few minutes with more about the situation there in Panama City and that area. Certainly, Miles, I know you know this, just a little bit west of Panama City, some very expensive real estate, and I know there's a lot of concern in that area as well.
A lot of it on stilts, but nevertheless, a lot of folks who are very, very concerned tonight. Rob Marciano, he is our weathercaster in the storm this time. They've all been getting a chance to experience what they predict and what they talk about firsthand of late, probably more experience than they'd like. And he's in the same spot where Anderson was just a few moments ago. I know you had an anemometer, a wind gauge, but did you break it? Did you actually break it?
No, I still have it, Miles. We've had wind gusts solid 70 now, so and you know, with this handheld device, it's not nearly as accurate as the real deal. So could easily be gusting higher than that. Certainly feels like that. It always does. Anderson found a good spot here, protected somewhat by this large pot here. We don't want to get too close to the building. There are these lampposts that line the hotel, and the ones just to the corner here are getting loose. So we're a little nervous about that. Pretty good, Wes. Pretty good gusts coming through, kids. Hold on. Anyway, you mentioned, Miles, that we often predict these things and watch them from the comfort of an office with no windows. And whether we like to admit it or not, whether we like to see the destruction that these things bring, we all want to experience it. A true weather geek wants to be out here at least to get a taste. And I feel like a bit of a hypocrite because I spend most of my time telling people how dangerous these storms are and how you shouldn't be out in them. And yet I can't resist.
Well,
it's amazing, the power.
You know, I don't be too hard on yourself, because what you are doing is helping people understand precisely what we've been trying to tell them, which is being where you are is something to be very cautious about. I have the sense that folks in Mobile have done just that, just based on your own experience around there. You haven't seen anybody out walking around, right?
Oh, no, nobody walking around. Tough to even just appear over this wall.
Have you seen any debris, Rob?
Oh, wow.
Not a whole lot of debris right here. Although, this may be the last shot we do from this position. We've got wind gusts now over 70 miles an hour, so 74, we're up to hurricane strength now without a problem. Debris not an issue because we're at the 4th floor of a building. That's why we're concerned about things flying off the building and possibly from other buildings. There's construction going on down the way and a couple of huge cranes that certainly have you worried, but they loosen those big cranes up and just let them blow in the wind like a wind vane. So they just blow parallel to the wind. I guess they can handle it, no problem. This is amazing. You guys still? Are you still there? I can't.
Oh yeah,
we're still here. We're just watching you survive this, thinking maybe it would be a really good idea if you changed locations.
I seem to have lost my IFB, and it's getting a little gnarly out here. I think I'll head back for a bit.
All right, we'll check in with you in just a little bit, Rob.
Why
It
don't you
sounds
get
to me
some
like
safety?
they need to be.
You know, that's a dramatic turn there. Just watching, even in the course of that one particular live shot, suddenly that gust came in there, just sheets and sheets of horizontal rain. You know, Rob was talking about not seeing anybody out in the streets, but there are plenty of people riding out this storm in their homes. John McNeil is a resident of Mobile, Alabama. He rode out Hurricane Frederick and is doing just the same right now. He lives very near the Dog River in Mobile, the western side of Mobile Bay. He joins us on the line right now. John, first of all, what are you seeing and hearing from where you sit right now?
Well, we lost power about 10 o'clock, The winds have been very heavy now for the last couple of hours. The rain's been falling for 5 hours. As we left the barrier island where the fire station is a few hours ago, it was already flooded. We're also being told other roofs on the homes have blown off. There are 140,000 people who live in this county. Almost all of them are now without power. That's also not a surprise. We're also told that the main road that runs north-south to the beach here in Gulf Shores, Alabama Route 59, is impassable in many spots with huge trees that are falling down. As far as any casualties, no word on that whatsoever. But that's not a surprise because in the middle of the night, when this storm is coming through as it is, it's very hard for emergency operations officials to know. They are not making calls. They told everyone to evacuate. It appears that most people have. The barrier island behind us, we didn't see any civilians on it at all. This area we are on the other side of the Intracoastal Waterway is also abandoned. Those people have headed north. Interstate 65 was open in all directions heading north, nothing heading south, so people could evacuate. Most people appear to have taken the cue, but there looks like on the east side where the high wall is going to come, there's been a lot of damage so far, and we're not even near the worst part of it yet. Catherine, back to you.
Yeah, Ivan, still about 40 miles offshore there. I'm sure there has to be power outages already in that area.
Well, no question about it. In this area where we are, there's no lights at all. The only lights we see are the occasional transformer exploding behind us. But it's completely dark, and almost all, we are told by emergency operations officials, of the 140,000 people in this county are now without power. And as you know, we've covered 2 hurricanes very recently. The most recent one, Hurricane Francis, we had people on the east coast of Florida who were without power in many cases still. So they know that it's going to be a long time before they get power back.
The rain and the wind there may have distorted your microphone just a little bit. I wanted to reiterate what you said a moment ago about damage to the fire station and that there were no injuries.
Right, no one inside the fire station. I apologize for the audio, so we'll have to try to talk a little slower and a little louder so you can hear me. There was no one inside the fire station. The barrier island behind us of Gulf Shores Beach evacuated. However, a roof has blown into the fire station. The doors have blown in. It is now flooding, but all fire personnel were told to evacuate the island, so no injuries there. As far as casualties anywhere else here in Baldwin County, which is just about 40 miles to the east of Mobile, no word on any casualties yet, but there's lots of damage so far, and the worst still to come.
You are so correct. Thank you. That's Gary Tuchman checking back with you in just a little bit in Gulf Shores, Alabama.
We have correspondents all along the coast, and as we've been telling you, Gary Tuchman is on the right side of the eye, sort of southeast of Mobile Bay right now, about 60 miles, and we anticipate that he'll be seeing a lot of that storm surge there, a lot of the higher winds. About the same distance to the west of the eye, Biloxi, Mississippi, is where we find Susan Candiotti. Over the course of this night, you see a marked difference in the amount of wind and rain that she's encountering there. How is it there now, Susan?
The wind has been picking up just a little bit. I wouldn't say it's very, very serious, having experienced much worse than this. But we recently had a gust of up to 37 miles per hour, which is certainly heavier than we've had all night long. They continue to get reports because of the higher winds, however, of more downed power lines, some small fires that they've been able to put out, including a house fire, a problem at a restaurant, and also they had part of a roof blow off over the emergency room canopy of a local hospital here. And they figure that at least 6,000 people have lost power so far. That is a number that will probably grow as the night goes on. Here, again, we're a bit protected from the storm. The rain is coming down a bit more heavily now. I can see Interstate 10 off in the distance and streams of rain coming in, but it's kind of hard to show it to you right now because it's a bit too hard to pick up because of our distance from the highway to show it on the video camera. They figure about 3,500 people are in shelters right now, and at one of them, at an elementary school that is being used as an evacuation shelter, guess what happened? The power went out, and for a time they were thinking of moving these people in the middle of the night, but then they thought more wisely of that, of course, and everyone's going to stay in place. Obviously, if they've got flashlights and other things to keep them going, to provide them some bit of comfort during the night, and they'll take care of that if the power is still out. They'll move them in the morning. So again, they do expect things just as they are where Gary is to get worse as the night goes on. Certainly flooding's going to be a problem here because you've got not only the Gulf Coast and the Gulf water coming across Highway 90, which runs up and down the coastline here with all the hotels and the casinos, but they're also going to experience flooding from the Back Bay that most people are familiar with here in Biloxi and Gulfport. Miles and Catherine?
All right, Susan, you're right. The worst is yet to come. We'll be back with you in just a few moments. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to check in again with Anderson Cooper, see if he's still hanging onto that plant.
Yes, it looks like it's going to be about 4 a.m. Eastern Time when the eye comes ashore there on the coast. In the meantime, though, everybody along there is taking a battering already. Anderson Cooper among them. We'll be back and check in with them as our coverage continues through the night. There he is. Hurricane Ivan inside of 50 miles by our reckoning, perhaps 3.5 hours from its eye coming across land. Of course, in the meantime, there's going to be plenty of difficulty for folks along the coast there as those hurricane force, tropical storm winds kick ashore. As a matter of fact, the hurricane force winds are projected to extend out about 100 miles either side of the eye. We'd like you to participate at this point. We've been talking long enough. Let's have you
especially if you're holed up in your home there.
If you're holed up in your home and you've got the ability to get to the web, why don't you send us an email if you have any questions, comments, hurricane@cnn.com. You see it there in the lower part of your screen there. That's the email address, and we'll get as many of those questions on. Usually it amounts to a grilling for Orland Sidney, but I have never seen her not know the answer to one of the questions.
We've never stumped her. And, you know, we also get a lot of email from people wanting to know about their relatives there in the coast.
Well, that's true, too.
A lot of concern.
That's true. Specific questions about specific places.
Yeah, so right now, Ivan, 40, 50 miles offshore.
That's right. And you've jinxed me, too, by the way. I know now somebody's going to write in with something that I have absolutely no answer to. But we'll see how that goes. Let's take a look at what's happening right now. Again, I'm going to show you some stuff on the Viper a little bit later. I'm going to go over and illustrate for you a few things. But right now, here's Mobile. Here, the center of the storm, obviously. And at the last report, it was 55 miles off the coast. And it still looks like that eye center is going to be working its way pretty much northward. I'm going to have to get over here. I think somebody's been kind of messing around with one of these telestrators. There we go. And got that little squiggle off. That doesn't mean anything. But I wanted to show you down to the south here. It's very interesting. There looked like there was some drier air that started working its way into the storm about 2 hours ago. And now it looks like you're going to find an interesting situation with the eye. On the southwest side, you can kind of see a little opening there in the eye wall. Now, is that going to be significant? Is that going to help to slow the storm down some? I can't say for sure, but there certainly is an opening in the eye that's been trying to fill in, but now it looks like it may start to close off a little bit. So that's going to be something to watch. That may be an indication that it's becoming more disorganized, but I'll tell you, it's so close to the coast until I'm not sure that's going to make much of a difference. Here are the outer, let's see, the barrier islands just across here, and you can see the center of the storm now. The northern eye wall is just about there, so that distance is just about 50 miles or so. And with the storm moving to the north at about 12 miles an hour, that's going to be on the coast in just a couple of hours. So I'm not sure that it's going to weaken very much before it gets there. Yeah, Catherine, go ahead.
You know, we're talking about the eye of the storm, and I look at that. It looks so small compared to what we saw with Francis. And I think about what we've heard you guys say all last week, that it's almost like an ice skater. The smaller the eye, the tighter the spin on this thing.
That's right. I like to think of it like a tether ball. Remember in junior high school when you played tether ball and there was always some big kid that would wrap it around your neck? Well, that's kind of the way this is. As you go around and get tighter and tighter, the ball, of course, goes around and gets tighter and tighter as well and moves faster. And that's pretty much what you see. I'm taking a look at some of the stronger storms that are coming in, too. Just real quickly, I wanted to show you just some of the higher cloud tops there. Really pretty intense across that northern and eastern eye wall. But then to continue on with what you were saying, it's true. As you get towards the center of the storm, the smaller the eye, generally the lower the pressure, the faster the winds. But remember that Frances had a 70-mile wide eye. It was huge. So this storm certainly not that large, but we're still going to see quite a bit of damage because as you can, I'm panning around here, and as you can see, we've got some very strong rain bands that are moving into parts of the panhandle of Florida, across southwestern Georgia, and even up towards Dothan. We had some reports there of some potential damage. So just a very large area, not just the Mobile area, but all of that eastern quadrant. We're going to see some very strong thunderstorms tonight. Miles, Catherine?
Orlin, this storm, though, is about the size of Frances, isn't it?
You know what? I'm going to have to take a look real quickly and see because I haven't seen the actual diameter on the storm. I know that the eye is smaller than Frances. I remember at one point, the eye on this storm now is 20 miles across. At one point, Frances' eye was 70 miles across, which I thought was just amazing. I'd never seen anything like that before. And was really surprised that Frances managed to be as strong as it was with an eye that big. This one, of course, much, much smaller, and the wind's obviously much stronger as well.
It took quite a long time for the eye to even just pass over a single location, didn't it?
It did. It, as you remember, it actually passed right over the Atlanta metro area, but I remember in Orlando, it seemed like we waited forever for the center to get there because it was moving so slow. That is an indication of very weak steering currents, and that's what we're going to see, we think, as this storm continues to move on in. Now, right now, it's going at a pretty good clip, going to the north about 12 miles an hour. It'll probably continue to move up through Alabama, but once it crosses into Tennessee, it's really going to just stall out. It's not going to go anywhere, and then it's going to sit across parts of eastern Tennessee and rain for days, perhaps. And then the low is just going to have to dissipate on its own down to nothing. Hopefully a front or something will come through and move it along, but it just doesn't look like that's going to happen. So we're not just looking at potentially really bad destruction here on the coast. I can't emphasize how strong this could be. Not only that, but we're also looking at flooding, especially over the weekend as we head up towards the Appalachian Mountains.
Orlin, not a lot of deviation now from this storm, now that we're this close to shore, what, 40 or 50 miles away from shore? Where's the brunt of this eye going to hit?
Well, I'm going to step away then, and I can show you real quickly where the center is going to make landfall. I mean, it's so close now until it just looks to me that it would have to. I mean, Charlie did take that little step to the right, you'll remember, when it was, we thought, headed up towards Tampa Bay, and then it just kind of right over to the right into the Fort Myers area. But this one, I think, has been pretty consistent. We aren't seeing a whole lot of problem with this one. It's moved. I'll show you kind of a little bit what it did. There's a little bit of a hop here it took to the right about in there, a little bit earlier, about an hour or two ago. And I think what happened, if you take a look at the eastern side right here, you can see that that's where all the strong thunderstorms are. Well, sometimes in a storm like this, those strong thunderstorms will cause the storm to actually wobble a little bit, kind of like a washing machine that's off balance. And so it can give you the impression, whereas the storm is moving like this, it could give you the impression of maybe a little hop, and then the convection comes back around and it continues on its path. And I'm kind of thinking that that may have been what happened at that point. So if it continues pretty much north, as I think it will, up towards Mobile, you can see that from the Mobile Bay all the way out across to Panama City, you're going to have quite a bit of an area of very high storm surge, of very high wave damage, and very strong wind damage. When we get up to this point, I did find some very interesting information that you guys might like. From Category 1 to Category 5 storms, the potential damage is 250 times as great for a Category 5 as a Category 1. Now, this obviously is not a 5, it's a 4, but that will show you the exponential change that you get with each category. There's going to be some really bad structural damage here just from the wind itself, And then, of course, you're going to have damage from the storm surge along the coast. The devastation is really going to be amazing, I think.
All right, Orlin. Well, we're going to check in right now and see what the situation is in Mobile with Rob Marciano. Rob?
Oh, hey, guys. We're on.
Can you hear me, Rob?
Catherine, hey, how you doing?
Doing well. Where?
I'm here. Listen, I was unable to hear all of what Orlin was saying. North track still at 12 miles an hour. Still a sustained winds at 135. Because I missed I haven't gotten the last advisory in on our little portable job. But either Miles or Catherine, can you confirm that we're still at a Cat 4 at 135 sustained mile an hour?
Yeah, we still are at a Category 4. It's about 40 to 50 miles away from where you are right now.
All right. Well, we kind of have a good sense of where it is because the winds haven't changed at all, and the winds would change one of two ways: when it's right on top of us, or if it veers a little bit one way or the other. And obviously it hasn't veered much of anything. At still moving to the north at 12 miles an hour. All right. I've thrown all vanity away and I broke out the ski goggles. We'll see if it actually helps, all right?
Well, you know, actually, the truth is, Rob, we've gotten a lot of emails from viewers who suggest eye protection and also helmets for our field crews. So
it looks like, though, you've stepped in a little bit behind perhaps a wall because you're not having as much difficulty standing.
I'd pay good money for a helmet right now. I think that's a great idea. I mean, I thought I was a step ahead of the game by bringing along the ski goggles, but you know, they're wearing ski helmets up and down the slopes for good reason. But you really, you know, if you have to wear a helmet on these things, you really, well, here I go being a hypocrite again. It's hard to resist.
Well, are you standing behind a barrier right now because you aren't having as much difficulty standing as you were a moment ago?
Well, we're not. We're just going to poke our heads out here a little bit. I'd like to try to get another reading.
Okay.
God, I can't even see anything.
Good luck.
I'll poke our head out here a little bit and see if we can't get decent reading. Still blowing pretty good, but about the same as it was last go around. I've lost my IFB, so I'm just going to mosey back in because we can't Q&A. But the winds haven't really increased in the last 45 minutes, and they're still coming out of the east-northeast. So the storm is still that way. There's a little trick that we went through earlier, which is if you turn your back to the wind and you look left, that's where the center of the storm is. And the center of the storm is still out there. It hasn't changed much of a direction. We're hoping it jogs a little bit farther to the right, but I thought I heard Orlin say that jog didn't really jog enough. So it looks like we're still directly in the path.
Yeah, I think it's...
I can't hear what you got. Oh, you guys are back. You're back.
Oh.
Okay,
yeah,
I can hear you now.
It snapped right back and heading your way, Rob. We're going to check in with John Zarello in New Orleans and come back with you in just a few minutes. Please stay safe out there. John Zarello standing by in New Orleans, where things look calm compared to what we just saw.
By comparison, certainly, he's dry. Hello, John.
Last time I saw you, John, when you were out covering one of these things, it was a completely different scene.
Yeah, I'm certainly glad for the break, and I feel for those folks, you know, over in Mobile. I know what they're going through.
Oh, no, John. The truth is, you are one of these people that you like to experience them and report on them. I'm not saying you enjoy them because that would not be interpreted properly, but nevertheless, truth is, you'd rather be in the thick of it.
Oh, without a doubt. There's no question about it. You know, I've been through so many in the last 25, 30 years, including Hurricane Frederick in 1979 in Mobile, exactly where they are. You know, I watched from the tunnel that goes under Mobile Bay, Miles. We were trying to get into Mobile on Water Street, and we couldn't. We came out the tunnel, got off the exit on Water Street, and it was underwater. We turned around on the exit. There was a car submerged and two people huddled against the guardrail. We grabbed them, brought them back in the car, went back up the inside the tunnel, and spent the night in the tunnel control room, and which ended up to be the safest place in Mobile because you were under the bay.
That is a story to tell. Wow.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal experience, and then again in Georges in 1998 in Mobile, when cars were going down Water Street, just floating down Water Street there because of the storm surge and the flooding from Georges, which was a 2 and hit 50 miles, to the west. But here in New Orleans tonight, it is a very surreal experience. This place is absolutely deserted. We're on Decatur Street. To my left is Jackson Square over here to my left. And if you go over here, all the way to my right side, we've got the Cafe du Monde down here, and it's absolutely empty. All the chairs and tables have been pulled inside, and it's just a strange experience. Now, the mayor was on the radio a little while ago, local radio here, and he was saying that they hope that
Most beautiful places in the world, Gulf Shores, Alabama. Certainly not beautiful now, Gary.
Gulf Shores, Catherine, is not beautiful now. You're absolutely right. This city that is in the very southern portion of the state of Alabama, right along the Gulf of Mexico, a beautiful beach resort, is getting flooded by these rains and these winds. We've now had the torrential rains for about 9 hours straight, and it's taking its toll. We're standing in a parking lot of a hotel just across the Intracoastal Waterway on the barrier island of Gulf Shores Beach. This parking lot is not like the Colorado Rapids. It's a river that is just flowing in the direction of the wind. Behind me there is a tree that fell about an hour ago behind us. Other trees are bending, and we hear cracking from these winds. We've had hurricane force gusts, but it's still not anything like we expect it to be a few hours from now. When the eye comes across, it is expected that this will take the brunt of the storm, the eastern part of the eye wall, and that's why we're using this video phone. It allows us to pack up very quickly and get away from potentially hazardous areas, as opposed to the satellite truck that we usually use, which is a little more stationary. You have to be a little more careful where you set it up. We've been told by emergency operations officials here in Baldwin County that the fire station in Gulf Shores, which is just behind us, has lost its roof. It's on the barrier island, has had its doors blown in, and is now flooding. There is a big problem with flooding in the beach area. We are told that 1 foot of sand is now in the streets.